The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. My name is Adrian Benjamins, and I'm joined by Coach. And this episode is brought to you by Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Taste the Kona difference and head over to hawaiianisles.com and Amazon and get some delicious coffee. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Yo, Adrian, how are you, my man? I am doing very well. I'm missing the summer league, though. I'm ready to go back and see some basketball. I think this may be the quiet month or 6 weeks of basketball for the whole year. So it's a little rough, but like our listeners know, I've been preaching it last few weeks. This is the time you build some champions and dig in and do your homework. And so hopefully we can help everybody get prepared and ready for basketball because, it'll come around quick.
Coach, you are absolutely correct. It finally feels like things have slowed down in the association. Free agency's kind of halted here. Not a lot of I feel like this is the first week where there's really not a lot of news for the first time in a long time. So, I think this is a good time, Coach, to get prepped up, get ready. And I'm really excited to talk to you about the Summer League, guys. If you listened to last week, we went over Summer League breakout players, Summer League, what we learned, guys we like, maybe also some guys that we don't like. Coach, I know you and I are going to get into heated debate about RJ Barrett. I'm already prepared for our debate there. But Coach, before we jump into Summer League players, we got some business to take care of. And the first thing, this is near and dear to my heart. There's a fourth Hoop Ball Dynasty League that is opening up. You guys, I play in Hoop Ball Dynasty League 2. Coach, you're in one of these leagues, aren't you?
I am in Hoop Ball Dynasty 3. So, yes, I am. And I'll tell you what, it is a blast. So for the listeners out there, jump in and you can get involved. Just jump on the forums at hoop-ball.com and ask, to be a part of that fourth Hoop Ball Dynasty League. It's a blast, man.
If you guys like Dynasty Leagues, if you don't play in a Dynasty League, but you thought about it, this is the time. You guys, I love it. And one of the reasons why I love it is because it never ends. There's never an off season. Coach, all summer long, I've been getting trade requests. My league is so active. It is crazy. We're all on a group chat on this app called GroupMe, and it is nonstop every day. A great group of guys, really passionate group of guys that love fantasy as much as me. And I'm telling you, Coach, some of the debates we get into, like, for example, this week it was Christian Wood. Is he worth, somebody was going to trade like a late first round draft pick for Christian Wood, who just got cut from his team and just got picked up. I think where
Detroit Pistons.
Just got picked up by the Detroit Pistons. I mean, it is crazy to be in a group full of diehards just talking about stuff like this. I love it, Coach, because it never ends, and it's really fun to play in a league where you can trade second-round picks in 2021 and 2022. Coach, is so much fun. I love it, man.
I'll tell you, and really, if you're into fantasy basketball, whether it's daily fantasy or year-long leagues, however you do them, ESPN, hopefully – some of our Hoop Ball leagues, I would strongly recommend you play at least one dynasty league. And it's for what you exactly said there, Adrian, because what it does is it keeps you aware of everything that's going on throughout the year. It gives you a much heightened sense of rookies and free agents, and it gives you that edge that you need for daily fantasy and for the year long. So if you haven't got in a dynasty league yet, jump in that 4th Hoop Ball Dynasty League. I'll probably get in that one too, just to have a second, because I had given up one that I had been in for years because we had a few of the guys pack it in. So hopefully I'll see you guys in that league.
Guys, spots are going to go really quick, so get on the forum. Tell them you're interested. Make sure I'm not sure if you need to leave your email address there, but get on the forum. Get in there quick, because I'm sure you'll get priority as soon as you get on there. Guys, whenever we have a team that opens up in Hoop Ball Dynasty League 2, it gets taken quickly. These leagues are popular. And what's awesome about this, if you get in here, you get a chance to draft your team, which is awesome. I mean, it's great to take over a team, but to draft your own team and to have that team forever is so much fun, you guys. Coach, let me tell you, this has been keeping me up all week. This is what's going down in my league. I've got the number 4 pick. Somebody offered me picks 8 and 9 for my number 4. So right now, I've been losing sleep the last couple of days trying to decide if I want to. I really like this guy, Darius Garland, at pick 4, but I really love the idea of getting a couple guys in that 8 and 9 range. So these are the kind of fun things that you get when you join a league like this. And you guys get in here, a ton of fun. Hey, one of the other things I want to mention, we're looking for some help over at Hoop Ball. We're looking for someone, if anyone is interested in filling in the morning blurb shift on the Eastern time frame. We're looking for help. Make sure you follow Hoop Ball on Twitter, because we're always posting, whenever we need help with anything on it, like whether it's the podcast. We're looking for talented writers. Hoop Ball is growing. It's blowing up. So get in here now. It's a ton of fun. Coach, the Hoop Ball crew is insane. Like everyone is, we're all great. Like everyone is just great, and come and be a part of it, man.
It's a blast. And if you're interested in jumping in that blurb on the East Coast, look up at Dan Bespris. He's on our Hoop Ball. You can find him on Twitter or on our hoop-ball.com website. And he'll get you involved with the blurbs. The blurbs are terrific. You'll see those popping up constantly on Twitter and everywhere else. And it's just a great way to keep in the know of everything that's going on, especially for those guys that jump into DFS, because, you need to know that on the minute, really.
Yes. And Coach, now that we've gotten some business out of the way, it's time for us to have some fun, man. And by fun, I mean, let's dive back into the players from Summer League. And if you guys have been listening to Coach and I, you know that Coach was in Vegas for the NBA Summer League. So he was there personally. He took it all in. So he got to see a lot of these guys that we're about to talk about in person. So, Coach, where did we leave off last week?
Well, we are with, I believe, the Houston Rockets, and we've been going in alphabetical order. And just for the listeners that didn't catch last week's show, you may want to go back and listen to that if you want to catch the teams alphabetically prior to that. And we'll just pick up with Houston and go from there. And what we're doing is just basically stepping through each team, calling out a few standouts that look like they're going to be either impact players this year or future prospects that are great to pick later in rounds, especially in dynasty leagues that may pan out. So if you want to, we'll just jump right into Houston. And the first guy that really impressed me was Chris Clemens, little 5'9" guard. He averaged almost 21 points a game and 4.5 rebounds. Little dude like that, just getting after it. 2 assists and over a steal and a half. I thought he was fantastic. I know it's going to be tough to crack, the roster there, but I think he's proven enough that, he may be able to make it. So that's one guy. He's a from Campbell University. He's only 21 years old, and just a guy to circle. I know we're starting off with him, but I'm telling you, this guy's got some potential. And if he doesn't make it, in the Houston system, which I think he will, I know he's gonna pan out somewhere because he's got some game. And then the other guy I wanted to mention real quick, and then I'll throw it back to you, Adrian, is Isaiah Hartenstein, the big guy. He was back and forth. I believe he was one of the two-way guys for the Rockets last year, 7-footer, but he's solid. I mean, he played, we watched 2 full games where he got about 25, 26 minutes and scored 16 points, 9 rebounds a game, and just seems to be coming into his own. I think he's not going to be a starter in the league by any stretch, but a guy that should get some good backup center minutes as the season goes on. So those were the 2 that I circled for Houston.
I like both of those guys. And, I'll start with Chris Clements. He was not on my radar at all, but he looked fantastic. And, this Houston Rockets team with them adding Russell Westbrook, James Harden, they got Austin Rivers, Gerald Green. They're kind of loaded in the guard spot. So I think this guy will make the final roster. If not, he will definitely end up on an NBA team. I think he proved at Summer League he belongs in the league. So he was a really pleasant surprise, man. I like him. Now, the second guy you mentioned, Isaiah Hartenstein, we knew about this guy from last year, kind of blew up a little bit last year. And Coach, I think this guy has a legitimate shot at making the rotation. Right behind Clint Capella, they really don't have a backup center. I think it's possible that this guy gets some backup minutes behind Capella. Now, for fantasy purposes, I don't think we're drafting either of these guys. Maybe in a deep dynasty league, Isaiah Hartenstein's owned or is drafted. But for fantasy, especially in our standard redraft leagues, we're not touching any of these guys. But I'm really glad that you brought attention because both these guys looked really good, Coach.
Yeah. Couple guys to keep an eye on for sure.
All right, where should we go next?
Indiana Pacers. And obviously, Aaron Holiday, as we've talked about on multiple occasions, he's sort of one of the guys that we both like a lot, part of the Holiday brothers and wasn't picked as high as I thought he'd be picked in the draft. And then last year he played a very minimal role, but he's really proven that he can play. I mean, he played 3 games and was just crushing it, and then they just shut him down. 23 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, a couple steals. I mean, he just, the kid can play. He's a good defender, and no doubt in my mind he'll be in the Pacers rotation. And I know you feel the same because we've talked about him. The other guy I want to mention too, and then I'll let you run with it, is Elise Johnson. He was a guy we saw play. He logged a ton of minutes, played 5 games, and just was super consistent. Good solid player, youngster, came out of nowhere. I'm not sure if he'll be one of their 2-way contracts, but he grabbed 17 points, almost 10 rebounds a game, 2 assists, a steal and a half. And just, he was all over the place. So there's a name that, no one had anywhere on their radar. It's certainly a guy, to keep an eye on for the future.
Coach, I love Aaron Holiday. I am really high on this kid. And the only negative thing that I have to say is that I agree with you. He'll be in that rotation, but the question is, how deep is he going to be buried in that rotation? They just signed Malcolm Brogdon. They added TJ McConnell. They added Jeremy Lamb. We know Victor Oladipo likely is going to miss the year or a large chunk of the year. But Coach, man, I am really disappointed that it looks like the Pacers have committed their point guard spot to Malcolm Brogdon for the foreseeable future. And I really thought that Aaron Holiday was going to be their starting point guard of the future. So, for this year for fantasy, I'm going to just, I don't think Aaron Holiday will be on standard league radar, but definitely I've got him in some deep dynasty leagues, and I'm going to still hang on to him because I think the kid's talented, and I think he's a legit point guard in this league one day. And then I don't really know too much about Elise Johnson, but one guy I did want to mention is the center that they drafted, Goga. And Coach, he was a sleeper coming into the draft. I heard a lot of people that I trust say that this guy might be one of the most talented centers in the draft. Very skilled. Coach, I got a buddy who he loves scouting the college and the incoming rookies. That's his thing. That's like, he does it as like a hobby. And he wanted the Bulls to take a Goga with like their top pick where they took Kobe White. Like, he was that high on this guy. So,
wow.
I think we got to keep an eye on this guy because from what I'm hearing, he is really skilled and he could be a legit center. Now, Coach, again, this guy now is buried behind Miles Turner and Sabonis. So, for fantasy purposes, I don't think we're going to be drafting this guy. We're just going to keep an eye on him. But I'll tell you what, in these deep dynasty leagues, if I got an open spot, I might find a roster spot for this guy.
Well, I'll tell you what, from what I had read just a couple days ago, as we talked about last week, they're really going to try to place Sabonis at the 4 alongside Turner. That's their projected starting lineup, which leaves that backup center those minutes available. And listening to Schmitz on ESPN, who's sort of the rookie and overseas guru, he thinks Goga is going to be a terrific player. And he's young. He's not, he's, I believe, 20 or 21 years old. So I think, there's the potential that he could see some minutes. Certainly a guy that, I'm glad you brought up because he didn't play at all in Summer League because they were just finalizing his visa and all that stuff. But now he's set, he's signed, and, very well could have a shot at that backup center role, at least, minimal minutes, and then build from there. He strikes me, and again, I haven't seen anything but clips and then just listening to some of the reports on ESPN, but he seems to be sort of, in the mold of a guy that can stretch the floor a little bit and, hit the glass. Like you would expect from a lot of the guys that come over. Most of those guys, even the big fellas, can shoot it. So, he might be a good ad for them.
Yeah, very skilled guy. He won the EuroLeague's Rising Star Trophy. He averaged 12 points, 6.4 rebounds, 2.3 blocks. So, I love centers that get blocks. And what's also nice, Coach, he can shoot it. He's got an outside shot. He can hit 3-pointers. So, very skilled big man. The Pacers used their 18th pick in the draft on this kid. President Kevin Pritchard said after the draft that they aren't planning on having him as a draft and stash player. They see him on the team participating already from the get-go. So I like your take, Coach, on he could be the backup center for them. So keep an eye on this guy. But from what I heard, man, I heard that on draft day, people were telling me he could jump into the top 10. Coach, I was really hoping he would land on a team that really needed a center, so he might be able to get a starting role right off the bat. But you know what? I think this could be a really good fit for him to develop landing on the Pacers, learning from guys like Miles Turner and Sabonis. I think it could be really good for him, Coach.
I'm with you, brother.
All right, where should we go next?
Jump on to the LA Clippers, the favorites to win the NBA championship right now. Who'd ever think you'd be saying that? That's amazing to me. This has been the craziest offseason. It's been so much fun. Really, I only have one guy from the Clippers that showed me, that he's ready for the league, and It is definitely about 82 points in Scrabble when you put his first and last name together. And the announcer at Summer League had the worst time. He actually threw out an F-bomb accidentally by trying to pronounce his first name. I'm serious. It was hysterical. But it's Mfondu Kabengele is the way it's pronounced, and or pretty close to that. But we saw him play a couple of games where he was just super consistent. I mean, 17 points a game, shot a good percentage, 8 rebounds a game, a block and a half, a couple steals, just really hustles, super, young guy out of Florida State that is really a little bit of a project because I guess there's some history there, but from a talent standpoint, if he gets with Doc there with the Clippers, great coach, I think this guy could turn out to be a rotation player for them by the end of the season.
So I got some bad news for Clipper rookies. If you're a rookie and you're on the Clippers, it does not look so great for you. And let me tell you why. This team is loaded. Coach, let me read off their second unit. This is their second team. Lou Williams, Rodney Magruder, Mo Harkless, Jamichael Green, and either Zubac or Herro, depending on who starts. Coach, this team is ridiculous, man. And we know they are going for it right now. So, for fantasy purposes, I hate to say it, I won't even look at a rookie that is on the Clippers because they are so deep. They're in win now mode. I really don't think any rookies, Coach, there may be times where they're like the game's out of hand and they're like 30 points up. Maybe we see some Jerome Robinson and Terrence Mann, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, which, by the way, Coach, you did a phenomenal job of pronouncing that name.
It's not Mfondu Kabengele, not a tough one, but honestly, he was by far the best player on their Summer League roster. So I'm with you, man. The Clippers are deep. They're win now, but a guy to keep an eye on for the future. Definitely Dynasty League late stash.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm still hoping that Jerome Robinson pans out. It's been a roller coaster, real up and down. I think, when they drafted him 2 drafts ago, I was really excited and really optimistic that he was going to be good. And I don't really think he's gotten the opportunity yet. And as I said, with this team just being so stacked, it just kind of buries his timeline even.
Yeah, he did not look like he had the it factor, man. He only shot 35% from the field, 17 for 48 for Summer League. And he just didn't look crisp. I mean, 2 assists per game. I mean, there's just you can see, and it really stands out in Summer League, the guys that are the big show and the guys that are probably going to be G League and playing over in Europe. And I think Jerome Robinson is probably one of those guys.
All right, Coach, let's jump over to the other team in Los Angeles. What do you think of the Lakers?
Is there another team in Los Angeles? It's sort of a waste of time for them that now that the Clippers are the deal. But
Coach, LA has become the new mecca of hoops, man. We got 2 teams that could possibly win the NBA Finals. We got the Drew League going on down here. The Big 3 is happening over here. Coach, LA's where it's at right now.
LA is always where it's at, man. You guys out there, I'll tell you, you got it all going. You get it all, including the earthquakes.
Yeah, not fun. Not
fun. No. But anyway, the Lakers, it's really hard to say. I mean, they're in the win now mode as well. But Taylor Horton Tucker did not play in Summer League. I know they think a lot of him. Really, the only 2 guys that showed out to me were Jordan Caroline and Zach Norvell. Devontae Cacok was not bad also. The three of them did decently. They were all double-digit scoring and played the majority of the minutes. But I don't see any of those guys bumping the roster. I think they'll be G League guys, down the road.
Similar to the Clippers situation, Lakers stacked as well, in win now mode as well. I really am not excited about any rookie here. Coach, anytime the Lakers were on TV, I tried watching and I didn't know a lot of the guys and I got kind of bored. So I do got to admit, man, they, Summer League wise, they were not one of the teams that I was looking forward to watching on TV during the Vegas Summer League. But I'm glad that you noted these guys. I'm going to keep an eye on them. Being here in Southern California, I get to see a lot of Lakers. So, let's see. Maybe they'll blow out some teams, and we'll get a chance to see some of these young rookies.
Possibly, you never know. But all right, let's jump to the Grizz, the champs. They were the champions and well deserved. They played very well. We saw them play a couple of full games, and they were loaded. Obviously, Brandon Clarke was the MVP of both the league, Summer League, and the MVP of the championship game, and just was fantastic. I mean, stats-wise, doesn't even tell the story. I mean, he did everything, 15 points a game, shooting upper 50s in the percentages, grabbing 10 rebounds, a couple of assists, 2 blocks per game, and just looked like a monster. So what a fantastic pick. A guy that I thought would be good, but never thought that, he had that much ability. So he was just he was something to see. I'll let you comment on him before I mention the other guys, just because he was a standout.
I want to talk about Brandon Clarke, Coach. This guy looked good. And, call me crazy, man. I might be drafting him in some standard leagues. We know Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to start and Jonas Valanciunas, but I think he's going to get some backup minutes right away. And, he's a little bit older as a rookie. I believe he's 22 years old. I'm guessing that off the top of my head. I'm not looking, so I apologize if that's incorrect, but that to me, Coach, means he's more ready to go. He's ready to contribute right now. Man, he is so active. One of the things that concerned me is he didn't measure super long at the combine. His wingspan was not super long, but Coach, he gets after it. He is so active on the boards. He loves to get blocks. I love this kid. Coach, I shouldn't even say this because I know some of the guys in my Dynasty League are listening to this show. When I told you earlier that I had a deal for moving my pick 4 for picks 8 and 9, I'm possibly looking at Brandon Clarke at pick 8 or 9. That's how much I love this kid, Coach.
I think you're making the right choice, man. I mean, he's fantastic. His motor is unbelievable. And, he's a 6'8", 207. He is 22 years old. So you're right on the money there, and he and Hishimura were, the 2 superstars for Gonzaga last year. So he was very, very well coached coming in. And I mean, he's flat out NBA ready, and he absolutely proved it in the Summer League, no doubt about it. So,
one of the things on draft day that I was kind of scared of is I heard he wasn't a great outside shooter. He was draining threes at Summer League. So he has shown from early in his college career, he has improved his outside shot every single year. So, Coach, I love guys that show they put in the work and that they can improve. So I'm not going to knock this guy for not having a jump shot because I think one day he could be a good outside shooter.
He was 32 for 58 in Summer League, 55%, and a lot of that was facing the basket. So I mean, the sky's the limit for him. But
he is on my standard league radar, guys. I'm talking at the end of your draft. If you just want to take a flyer on him, I think at some point of the season, he could emerge as a good, like early, late round type value guy. So, even in my standard league, like 10 to 12 team leagues where I'm not drafting him, he's going to be on my watch list from the start of the season.
Well, for the rest of you guys that are going to get in the Hoop Ball 4 Dynasty League with me, I am not going to let him go to the very end of the draft. I'm just going to tell you right now, because Memphis is in a rebuild, and this guy is part of their future, flat out.
Oh, man.
So, I hope nobody's listening that's going to pick him ahead of me.
Speaking of, can I just say how amazing it is that the Grizzlies went from the grit and grind era of Marc Gasol, Tony Allen, Mike Conley, and their reload and rebuild has been outstanding and so fast. Like, Coach, are you kidding me? They are now restarting with JJJ, Ja Morant, and Brandon Clarke looks like he could be a part of this core, man. What an outstanding young trio to now go into the new era of Memphis Grizzlies basketball. Amazing.
They've done a fantastic job. They really have. I mean, it's very seamless transition into a team of the future. Let me throw out a few other names, that stood out for me that I think have potential down the road. Tyler Harvey played very well. Just played across the board, consistent. Yuta Watanabe did not play in Vegas, but he played in the summer league prior to, and they shut him down and signed him, I believe, to one of their two-ways. He's got a ton of potential. And then a guy that played some last year was impressive, Bruno Caboclo, who, we've touched on him a few different times. Certainly still a little raw, but definitely some big upside potential for him down the road. One guy that was shockingly bad was Grayson Allen. I mean, he did not shoot well, 21 for 61 from the field. He looked out of sorts at times. He got thrown out of a game again for one of those anger management issue things. And I feel for that guy. I don't know what the deal is, but, I would assume he may be ticketed for Europe or something else, because I just don't see a path for him at this point.
Man, really disappointed by Grayson Allen, Coach. I saw that cheap shot he took. I forget who he took it on, and we know he's got an extensive history of that over at Duke. So really disappointed to see that, man, because where he's at, he doesn't need to be doing that, and that's definitely not going to help him. But, Coach, I'm going to try to be optimistic. I'm going to try to look at the glass as half full. He is talented. He's got skill. Coach, one of the things that shocked me at his combine a year ago, he is really athletic. I didn't know he was so athletic. So, I think on this rebuilding Memphis Grizzlies team, I think he does have a chance to prove himself and to prove that he belongs in this league. So I'm hoping he starts making wiser choices and decisions, and I'm hoping he shows this season that he belongs, because this Grizzlies team is a place where I think he can make that happen.
I hope so. I mean, it's a shame. It's all between the ears for that kid, because like you say, he certainly has the ability. But I mean, this isn't just something that's happened once or twice or three times. I mean, we're talking about, over a long period of time now, a couple of years. So, something needs to be addressed there. But from what I saw, he did not look like somebody that belonged in the big show. But we'll see what happens.
One last thought on the Grizzlies. Going to be one of my League Pass teams, must-watch League Pass teams. When I think about this upcoming season and when I get excited, Grizzlies, one of the teams why. So can't wait to see this team, Coach.
I don't blame you. And they were the only team that had their actual real coach coaching them, and they happened to win it. So don't ever underestimate coaching. I tell people all the time, not just because I go by coach, but because it is, you can never put too much value on how important a coach is. But their new coach seemed to really have the ear of all the guys. Even Ja Morant, who wasn't playing, was real in tune with everything during every timeout. And, and after the game, they had a big celebration in the locker room, and they were all jumping around, pouring stuff on the coach. So I think they've got a good chemistry and a good nucleus. I'm with you. I'll be watching them a lot on the ticket.
Oh, future's bright in Memphis. All right, Coach, where are we headed next?
Miami Heat. And, three guys stood out to me, that really were consistently huge scorers. They were just popping it left and right. Kendrick Nunn, who had a monster, some monster games, threw a triple-double in there, was very consistent, has some potential. Tyler Herro, who we've talked about multiple times now, was really one of the standouts of the entire summer league. I know he was the single reason that the trade didn't go down, because when they were going to trade Butler, they were insisting on getting Tyler Herro, and they refused to put him in the deal. So that's how much they think of him. So he's a guy that will, mark my words, get some solid minutes for, and probably be in the rotation for the Heat this season. So that's a guy worth drafting. And then the third guy, he's a volume shooter, but the dude just can flat out score. I'm not sure where he'll land, but somebody to circle is Duncan Robinson, a Michigan kid that played for Beeline. He poured in 18 points a game, just unconscious from 3-4 feet behind the line, and just has a nose for the ball. Also, grabs some rebounds and assists. So those are the three guys that really stood out to me. But I think Herro's really going to be the real deal. What a steal! I mean, they took him pretty high in the draft, and when they took him, I thought, wow, that's a little high. But now I think it was a little low. I mean, he can play.
Yeah, I agree with you. Heat selecting Tyler Herro at pick 13. And man, if any player in Summer League improved their stock, it's this guy. Coach, he could shoot it from deep. He is going to be, I think he's going to be one of the best outside shooters. Like when you think of the best outside shooters in the NBA, I think we're going to be talking about this guy one day as like in the top 10 of the best outside shooters in the NBA. I think he's that talented. And, one thing that's really interesting is sometimes we find in college that a really good player doesn't really show his true potential in college. A guy that comes into mind to me is Vince Carter. It was Antoine Jameson that was the guy getting all the love and not Vince Carter. And then in the NBA, Vince Carter exploded. And I'm kind of curious, Coach, if Tyler Herro maybe falls under that category because in Kentucky, he wasn't the main star there. I think maybe the system, he played in the system and he just kind of played his role. So maybe we didn't see everything he could do because Coach, I thought he was just like an outside shooter specialist. At Summer League, he showed an all-around game. So Summer League, he's one of the guys that Summer League showed his stock went dramatically up for me at Summer League. One of the other interesting things is we heard from the Heat that they did not want to move Bam or Tyler Herro. That both those guys were kind of like, hey, in any trade, a trade for Russell Westbrook, we're hearing maybe a trade for CP3. They do not want to move these guys. So, Coach, I love that they're looking at these guys, Bam and Tyler Herro, as key pieces to their core moving forward.
Well,
what do you think?
Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, you can't get two better minds than those two guys in the game. So I totally respect that. And I think what you said was exactly on point, and really something that's a great point for our hoop ballers that are listening to take into consideration. When you go to one of the stacked teams like Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, just a very small handful of teams, they are so laden with talent. I mean, they have the best players all over the place. And a lot of times they just don't shake out in the one and done years. And, some of that has to do with just they're surrounded by so much talent. Everybody's got to get minutes, and Coach Cal and those guys. I mean, even, the old joke was, who's the only guy to ever hold Michael Jordan to 15 points or less per game? And it was Dean Smith, the coach for North Carolina, because he didn't let him shoot or score or play enough to get the big points. But, it's sort of that scenario. And the thing with Herro is he's 19 years old. He's 6'6" and still growing. He sees the floor very well. And so besides the fact that I agree with you, will be in the 3-point contest at some point, he's got all those other pieces. So that's the kind of guy, to really inflate up your rankings because of, basically all of the things that I just mentioned. But, again, he's a true, I think he'll probably end up a good 6'7", 6'8". When you can do that and play guard and shoot it over people like that, look out, man. He's going to be something.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I think in 2 or 3 years, we're going to be drafting this guy in standard leagues, like the same way we do like a JJ Redick, like a Kyle Korver. Coach, sometimes when a guy can just shoot, I feel like he's safe, right? Like sometimes I'm like, hey, if you can be a legitimate outside shooter and hit threes, like there's a spot for you on any team in the NBA. I'm telling you, like, I always feel safer drafting guys when I know they have a good outside shot. Like Darius Garland is an example. I haven't seen a lot of Garland, Coach. We only saw 5 games from him in college, didn't work out at the combine, wasn't at Summer League, but everything I know about him is that he's got a solid 3-point shot and outside shot. And sometimes that just makes me feel safe knowing, like, okay, he can shoot outside. I feel safe with this guy. And Tyler Herro kind of makes me feel that way too, Coach.
Well, I'll tell you, in fantasy league, I don't like guys like JJ Redick. And I'll tell you why, because they're so shot dependent and scoring dependent that they kill you in the other categories. And I mean, so I don't believe Tyler Herro is going to be that style of player. He sees the floor. He's going to rebound. He's going to be more in the mold of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as far as size, ability to score. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get steals. I mean, I'd look at him in that sense too going forward, no doubt about it. And as far as you mentioned Garland, again, coming from the horse's mouth, because that was one of my questions, when I chatted with Beeline at Summer League, is he absolutely loves Garland. And his basically what he said without saying it to me, it sounded like Sexton and Garland are going to be the backcourt together. And he's done that for years at Michigan and Lemoyne and everywhere else he's been, has played, sort of like 2 combo guards together that can both score. So I don't know much about Garland, but based on that information, I'd keep him. I think I'd still take him in that 4 spot like you've got there, brother.
Yeah, and one thing that does kind of bum me out about Cleveland is they are a little stacked at guard. I'm hearing Brandon Knight's finally healthy. Brandon Knight's not old. I believe he's still in his mid-20s. So Brandon Knight's the guy that could get some tick. Jordan Clarkson is still on that roster. But I do, let's face it, Cleveland's not trying to win right now. And so I really hope they commit to developing their youngsters. And from what I'm hearing too, Coach, is that they are planning on playing Sexton next to Garland, which I think is going to work because one thing we learned last season is Sexton can score. And from what I'm hearing, Garland is a prototypical point guard, meaning kind of like in the vein of a Chris Paul or a Damian Lillard, he can pass, he can shoot, he's got those, those point guard skills. And so somebody like that next to Colin Sexton, that could work really well, I think, Coach.
Well, in Beeline's offense, those guys everything is run through those two combo guards. That's what he's always done, and they're always super successful. So I think you're going to see him make his mark. A lot of those guys that were getting minutes just in garbage last year, I think he'll phase out. I think he'll make his mark with some of the new guys and try to create a new unit and new culture. But, we'll see how it rolls out.
Can I just tell you, I was worried that we were maybe not going to have enough content on the show. We still got a ton of teams to talk about, and we're already 45 minutes into the show, Coach. You and I get together and we just talk. Like I'm almost wondering right now, do we need to make this a 3-part show? Because, Coach, we still got the Wizards, the Jazz, the Raptors, the Kings, the Blazers, Suns.
We definitely have to make this a 3-part series. There's no doubt about it.
Hey, you guys listening, let me tell you how ridiculous Coach and I are. We thought we were going to be able to do this in 30 teams in one show. Coach, we were supposed to talk about what team were we on? The Miami Heat, and you and I just went on a 10-minute tangent on the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. That's how ridiculous you and I are, Coach. So what do you think? Should we let's do 2 more teams. If we do 2 more teams, that's the Bucks and the Wolves. That means we're going to stop at the Pelicans. And I'm really excited to talk about the Pelicans and the Knicks too, Coach.
Well, we'll start next week's show with New Orleans. So,
Coach, all week long I've been thinking about our RJ Barrett debate. I don't know if I could put it off another week, man.
I've tempered my disdain a little bit.
Oh no! I wanted to get your disdain in full strength.
I've softened a little bit on RJ Barrett. I'm not sold, but I'm not using the bust word anymore.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Coach. Let's do 2 more teams. I think let's do the Bucks and the Timberwolves, and then we'll start off next week on the Pelicans.
Perfect. The Bucks will be super simple because they were awful. The one guy that played okay, I thought, consistently was Jock Landale. I don't know, if it'd be a 2-way guy I doubt he'll make the roster, but he looked like a player. He's 19 points a game, shot 55% from the field, 7 rebounds, very, very reasonable statistics. And somebody, just do a little research on him. Somebody to keep an eye on maybe for next season. Other than that, a lot of their guys were disappointing. I was expecting a lot from Bonzi Colson, definitely Sterling Brown, who started for Milwaukee for a portion of last year. He was very average, and DJ Wilson was actually terrible, and he was a guy who was high on everybody's list last year. We're talking he's averaged 6 points, 3 rebounds a game and just didn't get it done. So I'm not sure what the deal is there, if the Bucks see the depth there and these guys are just bailing, or what the deal is. But not a lot of stepping up by the young Bucks.
Yeah, I'm really not excited about any of the Bucks rookies. And again, another one of these teams that's in win now mode, that's got a really strong starting lineup and some deep bench players too, with George Hill. They added Robin Lopez. They got Ilyasova, Pat Connaughton coming off the bench. So not one of these teams where I'm really excited about any of their rookies. As you said, DJ Wilson was like that one guy last season that I always had an eye on, and I feel like at least on this team, it's not going to happen for him in the near future. So I'm really not excited about any of their youngsters, Coach.
I'm with you, man. Let's jump to the T-Wolves because I'm really excited about this team for one specific guy. But let me mention the two obvious guys right off the bat. Obviously, Josh Okogie, who really plays into the plans for Minnesota going forward. He was really consistent, and I'll tell you what, that kid can play defense. He is a terrific defender. Just I think a guy that will be a future, couple of all defensive team type possibilities. But he was solid out there. Just ran the show, consistent. Still has to shoot the ball better. That's the only problem. And that's what's held him back. He his range. He just does not shoot the ball well enough yet. And that's the only thing. Everything else, he can jump out of the building. Like I said, phenomenal defender, sees the floor. He's a good leader. They were all looking to him, but he's got to get past that hurdle of shooting the ball. I mean, believe it or not, 11 for 37, and I'm bragging about him. He shot 30%, but again, he was a leader out there. But once he gets past that shooting barrier, I think he's going to be a nice player in the league. And I'll let you comment on him and the other guy, Keita Bates-Diop, who obviously, got some minutes last year. He was consistent and solid too. Looks like a player. Block a game, scored 10, 11 points, 5, 6 rebounds. I don't think he'll be a big producer or maybe not even be in the rotation this year, but I know they think highly of him for the future. So I don't know if you have comments on those two before I give you my number one favorite sleeper in all of Summer League.
Okay. Yeah. Josh Okogie. I love this guy. I have him on my team in Hoopball Dynasty League 2. And so I have invested interest in Josh Okogie. Coach, anytime I get an opportunity to see him play, I am watching because I want to see this guy develop. Kind of reminds me is like a poor man's Trevor Ariza. And the only reason why I say that is because, as you said, Coach, doesn't have that knockdown outside shot yet. But if he can add that to his game, he will be deadly. And one of the things I love about him, Coach, two-way player, plays D. So you get those defensive stats, does a little bit of everything, can rebound, can pass. So if he can just get that scoring and that outside shot, he will become a really nice fantasy player. So I really like him. For standard leagues, though, this Minnesota Timberwolves team is pretty deep, so not really on my radar yet for standard leagues. Will definitely be on my watch list, but on deep dynasty leagues, I think he's a must-own guy because I think one day he will be a solid player in this league. Bates-Diop, I don't know about him, Coach. Bob Cove, Noah Vonleh, Karl Anthony Towns, Gorgie Dang. They also added Jordan Bell, a guy that I like a lot. So I don't know, man. I do see the potential with Keita Bates-Diop, but I don't know if it's going to happen for him this season. And he may need to end up on another team to really flourish and thrive and break out. I don't know if it's going to happen on the Timberwolves. And one last thought here. What is going to happen with the Minnesota Timberwolves? Is it possible that this team blows it up? I don't think Jeff Teague is really a part of their future. We heard that they're trying to move Andrew Wiggins, which is not going to be easy to do because his contract is ugly. But, if this team did decide to blow it up, then I think we could really up the value of some of their rookies. And, Coach, I know you want to get to this next guy, and I want to hear you too because I'm excited about this next guy.
All right, this was the youngest player in Summer League, 18 years old. He somehow, some way went undrafted because there were, I guess, some rumblings, he caused a little trouble or something, I don't know, in his past. But his name is Naz Reid, and he's a big man. And I'm telling you, he looks like, he is a big man. I'm talking 6'9", 6'10", about 280, and just an incredible athlete. He is definitely the steal of a signing of an undrafted a rookie. He was all over the floor, dominated the paint. They went to him on in crunch time. He only played like 20 minutes a game and still averaged 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He had some beautiful passes, a couple of blocks, and he's just a monster. And he's only 18. Just amazing. I think put a massive circle around him. I think that you will see that this guy will eventually be the backup to Towns and get some minutes in Minnesota. Now, again, he's 18. He was undrafted, and I'm sure they're going to bring him along. But the guy can shoot the three. He knocked down some threes at that size, so he's like a stretch 4, stretch 5, and just I'm telling you, probably most of our hoop ballers haven't heard of him, but Naz Reid, R-E-I-D, and do a little research on him, grab him and stash him, because this guy's going to be an NBA player.
To show how much the Timberwolves like this kid, they have signed him to a multi-year deal, which you do not see very often from an undrafted young 18-year-old rookie coming in the NBA. So that tells you, Coach, that the Timberwolves want to kind of lock him up in the near future and develop him and see what they got here. That kind of shows you that they see something here. So I think you're right on. And I want to touch on one last guy before we get out of here, and that's Jarrett Culver. This guy, was really disappointed that we didn't get to see him at Summer League, because I thought he was healthy when he got drafted and going into Summer League. And so to hear that he's not going to play because he wants to focus on getting fully integrated into the Timberwolves system, it made no sense to me, Coach, because how, when you're playing at Summer League with the Summer League squad, with the team's coaching staff, aren't you getting integrated right there? So was really disappointed we didn't get to see this guy play. But guys, he's on my radar, because I think there's a possibility he could play a decent role on this team from the get-go. And, they took him really, really high. They took him with the number 6 overall pick in this draft. So, Coach, I got an eye on Jarrett Culver in standard leagues. He's on my radar really late in standard leagues as a guy to draft. If he's going to start, if he's going to get decent minutes on this team, I think he could be standard league relevant from the get-go. What do you think of Jarrett Culver?
Oh, I love him. 6'7" kid. He led Texas Tech to the finals in the NCAA last year. Fantastic defender. Definitely a two-way player. He needs to get a little bit more consistent with his outside jumper, but no doubt, I think, when you take a guy that high and he has those kind of accolades, I'm with you, though. I can't for the life of me figure out, and again, maybe we missed something where there was some type of injury or something, but I haven't heard of anything like that. So why he didn't play in there, maybe he was dinged a little. I don't know, but I'm with you. I think he'll be, drafted and in leagues and expected to get minutes right away. No question about it. So yeah, I'm on the Culver bandwagon. I think that, you can expect him to contribute year one, and I think he's got some really good potential. But don't forget my man, Naz Reid.
All right, Coach. Any closing thoughts on part 2 of our Summer League player review?
Well, let's close out with this if we can, because I know we're right on the hour spot, because I don't want it to be such old news because we'll be 3 weeks in. I just wanted to, go over the first and second team all summer league players. And then I wanted to throw in 3 guys that I felt deserved to be on this list as well. Just real quickly, the first team, obviously, and we'll talk about some of these guys, the teams we haven't hit on yet, but Nikhil Alexander Walker, Gilgis Alexander's cousin, was unbelievable. I mean, just like ridiculously unbelievable. First team, Jared Allen, which I was surprised that he played so much, but he did, and he played well. Brandon Clarke, who we talked about in depth, was awesome. Kendrick Nunn, who, I made a big fuss over for the Heat, really stepped up. I think definitely earned a spot on the Heat team. And then our hoop ball favorite and Dan Besbris's adopted son, Mitchell Robinson, was on the first team, and he did block pretty much every shot in the paint. Second team, Chris Boucher from the Raptors was awesome. We'll touch on him a little more next week. Very, very polished player. I think he'll be a major player for the Raptors this year. One of my favorites, Roy Hashimura, who was the running mate with Brandon Clarke at Gonzaga last year, looks super polished, strong, just ready for the NBA. He'll be right in the rotation there, if not starting. So he was awesome. Then, of course, Jackson Hayes, who I went berserk for. The dunk jumped over the guy. He played with more energy than anybody I think I've seen in years. He was just all over the floor. I mean, he's obviously, going to get in some foul trouble and make some mistakes, but I think he'll get legit minutes, maybe back up Okafor or beat him out. Who knows at the beginning of the year with the Pelicans at center. But he was great. He's on the second team. Anthony Simons for the Trailblazers. Simons, not Simmons. So many people call him Simmons, but that kid can really play. I was blown away. He was 30 points a game for the games he played, and no doubt in my mind he's going to crack the rotation as a backup with Lillard and CJ out there. That kid's really going to be good. And then a guy that we've talked a lot about, Lonnie Walker for the Spurs. I mean, buried with like 6 great guards with San Antonio, but he was totally lights out, really deserved first team acknowledgement, but was a second team member. And so those were the 10 guys that made first and second team. 3 guys I wanted to throw in, I've already mentioned all of them in other conversations, but I felt deserved to be part of this was Tyler Herro, Chris Clemens, and Aaron Holiday. So really that was the bunch I wanted to mention this week, so we're not such old news next week when we go over the rest of the teams. And the last 2 things I want to mention in closing, a couple things that I think marked down as fantasy owners and drafters. Czech Diallo signed with the Suns. I think that's a cool signing for them. I think he'll get some minutes and be a contributor there right away. One of my personal favorite guys, Christian Wood, was moved on from the Pelicans, but signed with the Pistons for 2 years. I think he'll be a nice backup piece with Griffin and Drummond in Detroit. And as I mentioned last week, I was really impressed with how well and hard Cameron Payne played for the Mavericks, but I knew that they did not have a spot for him. But luckily, they did sit him out the last game, and Toronto offered him a contract. And I think he'll jump right in and get some minutes with the Raptors in that rotation. So that's it, man. That's all I got for you.
Woo, Coach. When we were done last week with Summer League Player Review Part 1, I got a little bummed out when I looked ahead to next week's show because I was like, man, why didn't we start with these guys? And, Coach, I feel the same way. Again, just super quick. I can't wait to dive into. We only saw 9 minutes of Zion, but Coach, I want to talk to you about some Zion stuff. A lot has been made about his weight. I'm going to save that for next week. Nikhil Alexander Walker. I cannot wait to talk to you about this guy.
My gosh.
He blew me away. So I can't wait, Coach. I've been itching to get into our RJ Barrett debate. I can't believe I got to wait another week for that.
I'll soften even more by next week. Next week, I'll be a fan.
See, that's what I'm scared of, but that's okay. And Mitchell Robinson, Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett. I want to talk a little bit about the Thunder because with them going into rebuild mode now, trading Paul George, trading Russell Westbrook, getting all these draft picks. I'm curious if there's some young pieces we need to look out for there. The Magic, I want to hit you up about Mo Bamba. Coach, in Philly, there's a guy named Zaire Smith who looked really good in Summer League. He's highlighted on my list, on your list as well. The Suns, the Blazers. You mentioned Anthony Simons. Coach, when they drafted this guy last year, he was a raw project. He looks way more than that now. He looks like a legitimate, going to be solid prospect now. Like he looks like a real deal guy in the making. So things are looking really good for him. And so, Coach, this is just a guy that caught my eye that I can't wait to talk to you about. Tony Bradley of the Utah Jazz. Every single time this guy played, he balled. He is a double-double machine. And, a little bit of a bummer that he's behind Rudy Gobert, but also he could be the guy of the future there. And maybe a good thing that he's learning from a really great center in Rudy Gobert. If he could pick up that multiple defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert, if he could pick up some of that from him, that only makes him better. And lastly, Coach, the Washington Wizards, a group of guys I want to talk about. I love Troy Brown Jr. on my 2014 Dynasty League in Hoop Ball 2. Love what I saw from him before he went down with an injury. I still don't know how serious that injury is, by the way. My fingers are crossed that it's nothing serious. So, Coach, we have so much to talk about next week. As I said, I'm a little depressed. I feel like each week has been a buildup, and next week is going to be epic, Coach. So I cannot wait for next week.
I just think the funniest thing is that the two of us thought we could do this in one show. What in the heck were we thinking, brother?
Okay, Coach. Well, let's wrap a bow on this. Let's get out of here. Where can everyone find you at?
I am at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi, also known as Coach on Twitter. And you can catch me in the forums on hoop-ball.com. Don't forget to jump in that 4th Dynasty League and sign up for if you're interested in the blurbs on the East Coast. And we are excited to get the third part of this next week and take it from there, brother. It's yours.
I'm really excited for next week, Coach. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Adrian Benjamins. We love hearing from you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening and for supporting the show, for supporting Hoop Ball. Do not forget to jump on that forum if you want to join Hoop Ball Dynasty League 4. It is a ton of fun, you guys. I love the league that I'm in. I'm almost tempted, Coach, to get into another league, but my wife will kill me if I got another league fee that I got to pay. So jump in there, guys. We will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.